So a lot of people may know about the Lincoln Project. So the Lincoln Project is an organization that was basically an anti-Trump Republican organization, a group or advocacy group or whatever. They would release ads and stuff attacking Donald Trump and saying, how terrible he is, and he's corrupt, and he's a Russian puppet, and all these other things. And one of the co-founders, his name is John Weaver, and he, obviously he's him. I think Steve Schmidt, and the other guy is George Conway, I think. And apparently he's the husband of Kellyanne Conway, who's obviously a close confidant of Donald Trump. But apparently this guy is an anti-Trump Republican. His wife is pro-Trump, and literally worked for him. And so those are the three guys that basically started the Lincoln Project. And so this John Weaver guy specifically, though, he ran the former failed presidential bids of John McCain in both 2000 and 2008. 2008 didn't make it to the primary. That was against George. That was the primary that George Bush eventually ended up winning, and then obviously became president. And then in 2008, again, when John McCain lost to this time he made it to general, but then he lost to Obama, obviously, in 2008. And then he also ran another failed presidential campaign of John Kasich in 2016. So obviously this guy is like an all up and down failure. He hasn't done anything useful for anybody's presidential campaign. I don't know what he did for. Maybe he was an advisor or whatever for a bunch of congressional or congressional candidates or members of Congress or Senate or the Senate, but definitely not. Doesn't know what the fuck he's doing for presidential candidates. But this guy, it was discovered that this guy John Weaver actually made sexual overtures to several young men under the age of 18. So boys, little boys, young boys. And I mean, isn't that so fucking emblematic of like typical Republicans? So this is the article from the New York Times. So he made sexual overtures to several young men under the age of 18, and then also promised them future jobs in politics if he would get sex in exchange for his favors. So this guy's a fucking sleazeball and a fucking creep. And he's also possibly gay. This guy's married, by the way. And as this New York Times article goes over, if you guys want to check it out, it's a very long article, but it just gets into the details of the messages that he wrote, and because he sent like text messages to these boys, and they apparently, I guess, accepted it. Maybe because they're very naive and they're give, I guess, in a way giving. Maybe they even have some sort of homosexual tendencies. They're confused perhaps, and they a lot of young men and young women, they end up buying into some older person trying to make advances on them. A lot of them do, and according to this article, a lot of them did reject Weaver's advances on them. It never became I think except one person, it became a physical relationship where they did actually meet, and I don't know, did they do anything? I don't know what happened. I forget which part of the article mentioned it, but apparently there was a situation where he did meet one of the guys, but I think he was over 21. I'm sorry, over 18. So he was technically an adult, but he still sent the messages before he turned 18. This young boy. So and this is this is like a hilarious fall from grace, if you want to call it that. But considering the fact that they're such a joke of an organization, but this was basically an organization that was just pushing anti-Trump propaganda, which is fine. I'm not pro-Trump, obviously. Like, you can push all the anti-Trump propaganda you want, but these were people that were grifting off of the Democratic Party and Democratic Party supporters, loyalists, and voters out there who thought that these are people that thought this Lincoln Project was truly anti-Trump when it came to the policies of Donald Trump. But as is the case with almost every single anti-Trump Republican, These are people that don't actually disagree with Donald Trump's policies. They just disagree with Donald Trump's mean tweets and the way he talks and the way he acts and flails his arms all over the place and says some crazy shit. But his policies they agree with. They don't object to anything that he pushes for, whether it's tax cuts for the rich, whether it's more wars, whether it's more trade deals, any kind of right-wing Republican, conservative, libertarian policy you want, they're going to love. As long as it's free market, so-called free market, and it's so-called, whatever right-wing person out there loves, they're going to push for it. And they're going to support it, but as long as you don't go out there and send mean tweets to people and be an asshole like Donald Trump is. As long as you don't do that, they're okay. They're okay with that person. And ultimately, their grift came to an end here, and came to had a pretty hilarious ending, considering this guy who has a wife and kids ends up. It turns out that this guy ended up hitting on little boys, and I mean, I don't know what to say. That's just like a typical Republican move. That's something that has happened to so many Republicans, where they have like, oh, I'm anti-gay, or I don't know if this guy's anti-gay or not, to be fair. I'm anti-gay and I'm I love kids and I support the kids and I'm pro-life, I'm anti-abortion, I don't want to hurt any of the kids, yet they want to go and creep on all the kids, whether they're boys or girls or whatever. And it's just typical hypocrisy from these people. And the fact that the liberals and the neo-progressives, neoliberals fell for this shit, fell for what these people were selling just because they were anti-Trump is pretty pathetic. And all these people, I guarantee, I haven't looked into specifically what they've said, but all these people are backpedaling, like, oh yeah, that's terrible. We never supported the Lincoln Project, blah 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 blah. See what had happened. The sun hit me in my eyes, and I was blinded, and I couldn't tell what was going on. Oh yeah. So these people are the liberals and anybody that supports the Lincoln Project are all, they're all gullible morons, and they just want to find anybody that was anti-Trump, and they're going to do it again with whoever the next Trump is, whether it's Trump himself or Trump Jr. or whoever, Lauren Boebert or whoever the fuck these right-wing idiots are out there that are getting big post-Trump. Whoever it's going to be, those are going to be the people that are going to feel the wrath of either the Link Project, assuming they're still around and they're not fucking run out of town for their being fucking sleazeballs. But whether it's going to be them or another group, it's going to be somebody that's going to go out there and take advantage of the gullibility of idiot liberals and just hope that they're going to get money from these people who probably don't have a lot of money to spend right now, yet they gave all their money during this pandemic to the Lincoln Project so they can just release a bunch of fucking cutesy ads where they're attacking Trump for stupid reasons. And this is karma, honestly. In my opinion, it's karma for a group that took advantage of people's vulnerability of hating Trump, and they got rich off of that shit. And then, and there was, by the way, I heard there was another article, I think it was from Huffington Post. I just saw the headline, but apparently they knew about what John Weaver was doing. The group, because I think Steve Schmidt, who's the other founder, he said, well, we didn't know anything about what was going on. We didn't have any idea. We didn't know what was, about any of the things that John Weaver was doing. But in reality, it appears that another person within the organization said that no, they did know. We knew, and we just didn't want to bring it up. We wanted to keep it covered up because obviously it's embarrassing. So these right-wing groups are right-wing, pro-resistance, pro-liberal groups, whatever the fuck you want to call them. They're frauds, and don't ever trust them. Don't ever take anything they have seriously. Their agenda is simply to push for a more Mitt Romney style type Republican. More, maybe something like, a little bit like Ted Cruz, maybe. Because Ted Cruz, Ted Cruz is not going to be like a bomb thrower like Donald Trump. So yeah, those types of politicians. Another one is like Marco Rubio, Mitt Romney, Ted Cruz, these types of like polished politicians who act right, but they don't fucking, they're maybe a lot of times they don't act right, but in general they act right for the Republican Party, at least the establishment of the Republican Party. But in reality, they're pushing the same terrible pro-war, pro-free trade, pro-tax cuts, pro-capitalism, anarcho-capitalism in many cases, policies that screw over regular people. And that's what they're all about. And Donald Trump exposed that by being all those things, but also being an asshole on top of it, which just portrays the rest of the party as assholes too.